This is the Danger Close podcast, Beyond the Books with me, Jack Carr. Welcome to the Danger Close podcast, an IRONCLAD original presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. The title drop video for my upcoming novel, Only the Dead, is out now. You can find that on my YouTube channel and on my social channels, and it is available for pre-order right now. My guest today is my dear friend and SEAL teammate, Eric Frohardt. We met back in 2000, did a platoon together. We're together on 9/11, did shipboarding operations together, and he has had quite the career, quite the time in uniform. An amazing guy, dear friend. He is now the COO of a performance beverage company called DEFY. So now, without further ado, Eric Frohardt. Is he there? What's up, buddy?
Hello.
No way. So great to see you.
Likewise. How you doing, bro?
I am doing great. Oh, man. Dude, I got to tell you, so this is what the main reason that I love doing the podcast is that it's an excuse to get to talk to you. Get to put the phone away, no emails coming in, no one can bother. I have a little on-air sign that I can click. I don't know if it's hooked up quite yet. So that tells the kids. It might turn into a magnet, though. I'm worried if I turn that thing on. Like, it might just be a magnet, kind of like closing the office door at home. But
totally.
That's what I love, man. We get to just hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, man. No, I'm excited.
Dude.
I love the new studio. It looks great.
Thank you.
It's like a legit podcast room there.
It's pretty sick. If you guys pass through this winter skiing or whatever else, have to come up and check it out. It's kind of like the podcast studio, and then also it's turning into the kind of the hangout area because I built a little area just outside right here where there's a fire pit and like a birch barrel and Traeger, and I'm going to put a couple other things out there. So it'll be a cool place just to hang out. And also the 3D archery course is going in right now.
Wow. Is that at your house or is this? Whoa.
Yeah. So it's 3D archery course. They're putting in like full on, like right now they're out there, and it's going to take a little while. Like, we've walked it all and plotted where each one's going to go and all the different distances and all the different places that you can shoot from to see it. And like, there's be a full on moose out there, elk, mule deer, like I think 20 or so different targets. So that's going to be cool.
Jeez.
So let's come out and shoot it. You have to come out and shoot it, and we'll hang out here and grill something up.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I don't quite have that set up here yet, but that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, so feel pretty fortunate, that's for sure. Oh,
yeah,
man.
No, it's good, man. Well, cheers to that, man. Congrats on all the success. That's awesome.
Thank you. No, it's all day, every day, full on sprint, but I love it. And there's the DEFY right there. Nice, I like it. We got to talk all about that.
Yeah, I'll send you some samples. Just let me know the best address.
I will.
I mean, I'm not going to send bottled water. That's probably in the store out there, but I'll send some of the sports drinks and other stuff.
Awesome. But you think we have DEFY around here?
Huh?
You think we have DEFY out here in the I don't know, grocery store or like mini mart?
We're in all 2,200 Safeway Albertsons.
Dang.
So I don't know if y'all have Safeway or Albertsons out there.
Smiths.
Okay, that might be a banner of theirs.
Yeah, it could be.
I'll look it up. But
Nice.
I'll get you some. I'll send you some stuff if you just give me the, like the muscle
will.
balm. Muscle balm works good. We have some CBD gummies that help at night fall asleep.
All right.
0% THC. So.
I will check it out. Because I also have to get working out. I'm running out of excuses. I mean, the work stuff, you got to prioritize writing books and doing all those things and writing scripts and doing all that stuff. But now the gym is actually here. I don't have to go anywhere. It's fairly recent. And it's right out there. Kettlebells are out there. I want to talk to you about that, about StrongFirst and all that stuff. But it's all out there. It's just waiting on me. So
yeah, for sure. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, take away the excuses.
There's not
and
many
the
left.
Like the kettlebell and the pull-up bar or whatever, just having it in your house, it's kind of, the one thing, kettlebell doesn't travel that well if you're bopping around, but I've kind of started like this, like where I do like during the day, right? Like I do a morning walk, either 2 or 3 miles.
Okay.
Like, and that's not really a workout. That's just like health, right?
Okay.
I do some back rehab stuff just as part of that. And then during the day, like when I'm sitting here working, like every day, well, 6 days a week, 4 or 5 times I'll get up and I'll do a single set of push-ups, a single set of squats, and a single set of pull-ups. And so sometimes it might be 10 push-ups, 15 squats, and like 5 pull-ups.
Yeah.
But I'll do that 4 or 5 times a day, 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, if I don't do anything else that day, I've walked 3 miles and I've done, multiple push-ups, squats, and pull-ups. And then as a bonus at night, like, maybe 2 nights a week, I'll swing a kettlebell, or 2 nights a week, I'll go do Muay Thai, or, 1 day a week, I might go on a run or a ruck or something. So, and if I don't get that done, I don't feel horrible, but I got the walk in, I got some core or some back rehab. And then obviously and the best thing about instead of just doing like a bunch of body weight exercise in the morning at one time, which works if you have a busy day, but if you're working from home, the getting up out of your desk every half hour and going to do that and like stretching your hip flexors out, like it's worked for me so far.
Yeah. I started to notice that if I'm sitting for too long, I get up. If I'm driving for too long, I get up and it's my leg. I think it's my right one or whatever. I just get out and it's just like, okay, like I limp for a couple steps, and then it's fine. But it's tough because I'll sit when I'm writing, I'll just go all in because I know I have to maximize every single second where there's no interruptions. And I just go 6, 7, 8 hours without moving from the chair. Like boom, just go. And if I'm taking a break, I'm not taking a break. I'm still thinking about the story. I'm still aggressively solving problems on the page, but I'm still in that same chair because for whatever reason, like the movement out of it, like it breaks me out of that. Exactly. Yeah. It's just a weird thing. So I gotta figure it out. We're still working on it, still working on the schedule, but right now other things have taken priority over the last few years. But you're always getting after it, man. I see you on your Instagram and I always know, even if I don't see you posting anything, I know you're working out. I know you're training.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At least, once a day minimum, usually twice.
Have the interruptions minimized for you? Like, remember when you guys were in Colorado and the kids were a little younger, the interruptions that you would have trying to work from home, have those minimized now a few years down the line, or is it still something that you contend with?
It's so funny how that kind of worked out. So when I left, I was working at Blue Corps, right? And that was brick and mortar, gun store, and gun range.
Yeah.
So you can't really do that remotely. You go in, you do your job, whether you're teaching a class or selling or managing a team or whatever, you kind of have to be on site to do that, kind of, right? Now you can, from your offsite office or from home, you can like review financials and stuff like that. But the neat thing was that when I left that and I went to StrongFirst, which would have been 2014.
Okay.
So I was CEO of StrongFirst from basically summer of 2014 till summer of 2017. And that entire time we had a headquarters team of about, 8 or 10 people. And that was everywhere from Atlanta to Venice Beach.
Yeah.
Right. And then we had senior instructors in like 30 some countries.
That's crazy.
So it was inherently geographically distributed and no headquarters per se. So back then there was no Zoom, certainly no Teams, but there was a thing called GoToMeeting. And I had literally, I don't want to use the word perfected, but I had mastered working from home remotely and building like a full like meeting rhythm where I would talk to everyone in headquarters, whatever that rhythm would be. And then the senior team in Europe or Asia or Australia or whatever. And I had it all kind of figured out, how I had built this, I would always say battle rhythm, but they didn't quite get that. But I had this like, kind of like when I was at Dev Group and you had to do your VTCs at your little outposts or whatever. So I had this I had that dialed in, and the kids were, as you said, much younger back then, and you're constantly getting interrupted. But now they're they're used to, between that and what I'm doing now, I had a stint at the NRA, and they're older. So, they're whatever, basically 11, 13, 15, and 17, generally speaking. And they know, like, they know when they come home, like, they kind of be quiet a little bit.
Oh, that's nice. Very considerate children you've raised. Oh my goodness.
They'll walk by me, and like Luke, he'll walk by. If I have my headset in, he'll just go like, you want to like, he's like,
that's right? Pretty good.
So, yeah, no, they've gotten, I've definitely sensitized them to it.
Nice. I remember your stand-up desk, and you build your stand-up desk. Yeah. At StrongFirst. Yeah, I'm like, look, there he is, standing up in a desk he built, of course.
Yeah, I have one in the basement, but I thought obviously I thought the cool office.
Oh, nice! I like the books.
Setting.
I like that.
Better setting for this one.
Nice, I like it. And I've seen some of those books before in the other house. I recognize a few of those titles up there. But man, awesome. People are probably like, how do these guys know each other? SEAL teams back in the day, SEAL Team 5, your first platoon, my second platoon. But leading up to that, to give people a little background, when did you find out about the SEAL teams? And then when did you decide you wanted to go that route?
Oh gosh, it's, I didn't really, I've heard you talk about it on your podcast and others before, but you used to not be able to find that information too readily, right? I remember getting like some like U.S. News and World Report magazine article, and it showed photos, and then I had, some little like magazine articles or books, or I don't know. I mean, actually, it's so funny to say this, but I can honestly say I think the first time it like entered the map or blipped on the radar was the Charlie Sheen movie.
Yeah. But how old were you? Were you like 11? How old were you?
I forget. Was that in 1990?
90.
Yeah. So I would have been 12. Yep.
Dang, bro.
Yeah. So I was young. I remember getting that. And then I was like, oh, this seems interesting. And then I remember an article came out in like News and World Report or one of those, and they're like talked about how like statistically hardest training and da 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 da. Yeah. So my brother and I, young farm kids or whatever, we would build these like obstacle courses with like, tree forts and hay bales and such, and just do some SEAL training. So it was on my radar real young.
Yeah.
And then as I entered high school, like I no longer really wanted to even consider the military. Like at that point, like football was my passion.
Yeah.
And I was certain like I was going to be a Division I football player.
Oh yeah.
At some point I like had made all state in football, and I was decent, but
you were big too. I've seen the pictures.
Bigger. Yeah. And I did the thing I just realized when I did try playing college football, I was neither big enough or fast enough. Like I was plenty strong, but in football, like strength, if you can't move it around quick enough and you're not big enough, it doesn't matter. So I was in college for a year, kind of, I don't want to say depressed, but I was disheartened by the trajectory on the football field. And we were watching some movie or talking about it, and we're sitting there in a dorm room, and it was like, again, this freshman year of college, and I just kind of was fed up, and I stood up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to join the Navy and become a Navy SEAL. And somebody was in the room had bet me like, no way, you'll never make it. You're not strong enough. You're not tough enough, or not big enough. You're not big enough and strong enough. Like they didn't know any better. Yeah. But I literally enlisted in the Navy the next day.
Nice.
So on a bet, right? So I made it through training, and I stayed in, 12 years. I got medically retired in 2010. Essentially on a bet that I couldn't make it.
Dude. Did you do the dive farer program when you walked in there and told the recruiters that you wanted to do that was the dive farer program? Did they know what it was and point you that direction, or did you have to kind of dig for that?
It was actually called SEAL Challenge at that time.
Okay, they changed the
name.
So
they had changed it to, and I still have this it's in a binder with some of my awards, but it's the stapled SEAL Challenge program.
Okay.
And it has the like a 12-week workout program in it, which I followed to the letter, running all those miles, in my case, on gravel roads, and which had some carryover to the soft sand, but not 100%. But yeah, it was SEAL Challenge. So I went in knowing like, that's what I'm going to do. And then I, passed the PT test in boot camp, and then I passed it in, A school, and then I passed it when I showed up, and, rest is history.
What was your A school again? What was your MOS?
Yeah. So I was a sonar technician.
Sonar tech.
First. Yeah. And that was only because, so it was a 4-week A school.
Yeah. You were, yeah.
So, but they don't like sonar fleet sonar techs have 4 weeks of A school. And then they have like 2 or 3 other schools that they take before they go to the fleet.
Okay.
So I wasn't ever actually a fully qualified sonar tech, but it was like
you were a BUDS qualified sonar tech.
Yes.
Okay.
And I had I got like a 99 on the ASVAB. And of course they were like trying to funnel me into the nuke thing.
Okay.
I'm like, that, cause there was very tempting, all the money, but I'm like, hey, I'm not like, that sounds not appealing to me at all.
The big bucks. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
the
right.
nukes.
Like I joined I was trying to tell the recruiter, I'm like, I did not join the Navy to make money.
All right. Yeah.
Clearly.
There are other paths you can take that might work out a little better if that's your driving force. Oh man, that is wild. But even before that, before college, growing up, junior high, like you grew up on a farm, like you were working hard.
Oh yeah.
Like they don't mess around in your family. Like I've met your parents. That's some serious people right there.
It was, I remember like people in my BUDS class would just laugh at me because we would get done at like 7:00 at night and we'd be running home from chow and I'd be like, oh, I can't believe we're already done. And I'm like, and we had 3 breaks to eat today. This is like great. And so no, there were, on the whole, yes, like BUDS training is harder than growing up on a farm, but there were plenty of days that, my BUDS training was not as hard as my upbringing on the old hog farm.
Seriously. So for people that don't know, the hog farm, what is that like? What were your responsibilities? What time did you get up and what time was your dad up? Like I met your dad, like those hands, I'll never forget those mitts.
Yeah.
On your dad. Those are some strong big hands. You do not want to get smacked with one of those.
No, your audience will appreciate this, but he can't like put his index finger in the trigger guard of like any Glock.
I understand.
So he can't like,
I've shaken that hand. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has like, I don't know, big revolvers and such, but yeah, we would, it was work hard, play hard on the farm. It was time to wake up and get the chores done. And it was, like I said, it was hard work. We had mostly at the time when I was younger, I don't know how detailed to get here, but it was, it was called farrow to finish. Okay. So we had breeding stock that would make little pigs. They would breed, have little pigs that we would raise. Nowadays, most of it's very separate. So most farmers who sell hogs now, they would buy baby pigs that were weaned from the sow and raise them. We didn't have that. So it was, baby to finish, everything. A lot of them outside hauling grain to them. Like we didn't have automatic feeders. We had these troughs, like these troughs in the mud. Yeah. And I would have to carry 2 5-gallon buckets of corn, through the mud to them. It just very physical carrying the corn. We'd take these moving hogs from from where they're farrowed into the nursery, and then from the nursery into the finishing house, and up until they're like, there were times they were usually carried by hand until they were like 75 to 90 pounds. Okay. So I'm a little kid, like carrying these pigs are strong, and they're like kicking and everything. You're getting cut by their hoofs. And then once they're in the finishing house, you're moving them around on the ground and they're running you over and, all that. And then we had grain. I don't know. I remember this very distinctly because it was harvest season and it was 1986. And I remember that because that was like the year the Challenger blew up. And like, I was still like loved astronauts and space. And I'm like, oh, I like Star Wars. I think I want to be an astronaut. So anyway, I watched that Challenger blow up. It was in a classroom like many people our age did. But I just remember being in second grade and it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And I called my dad on the CB radio because I was hauling grain from fields into the elevator in town. Wow. And I was like, I'm getting kind of tired. And so I pulled up to the combine and, I'm in second grade and he's like, here's some coffee. We got to finish this field tonight. So that's just one. And like, I won't even let my,
right.
I wouldn't let my, when my son was a freshman in high school, I would barely let him run a weed eater, let alone a tractor hauling 2 loads of corn to town.
And certainly no coffee. Yeah, probably no soft drinks for you guys. You guys are so healthy. Oh man, that is wild. So what was is there a typical day? Like, are you up like what day, how early are you getting up? And then what are you doing before the sun rises? And then you go to school and come back and keep going, or what does that look like?
It just kind of depended on the year.
Yeah.
Like the summer is a really good example. Just because you wake up earlier in the summer because you have the heat coming. So a lot of times you want to be up by 5 at the farm by 5:30, get a bunch of work done. Sometimes you would be at the farm by 5 a.m. depending on if you're selling hogs or whatever. It kind of depended what you had going on. Like if you were selling a load of hogs, you could have a truck driver there by 6 a.m., but you needed to be there an hour early to have hogs sorted and ready to load into that truck. And we had hogs. We also had corn and soybeans. So it really depended on, whether there was a project we were doing or chores we were doing for hogs, or it was planting or harvest, right? Wow. So you had the spring and the fall, and you could have like perfect storm where you were doing harvest, but during that time you might also be selling a few loads of hogs. So you'd just be like super busy, but usually wake up very early, especially in the summer, do your chores. A lot of times wouldn't really eat before that. Like we would, take a breakfast break or, coffee time, as they say in the Midwest. And like my brother and I always eat a donut, drink a Pepsi. Like there was no bottled water back then, but eat
they didn't have their Defy water.
No. Eat a donut, drink a Pepsi, do some more work. We would always, in the summer, take it can be quite hot in Northwest Iowa. So we'd take a lunch break, usually, in the house. Once in a while, we'd go out to eat if we were running errands and it kind of allowed us to do it. But sometimes we would literally, because our clothes smelled so bad, we'd take our clothes off and eat lunch just like in our underwear, and you had to leave the clothes outside.
Wow.
So you'd sit there and we'd eat lunch in our underwear. And if we had like a few extra minutes, we would lay down on the cold linoleum floor before going back outside because it was, hot and humid. And then we work in the afternoon till dinner, usually pretty late. Like we'd always eat dinner at 8 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I remember being the hardest was during football season itself, especially August. So it's 100 and something outside. You have the morning football practice, which I would have done chores before. and then you go into football practice in August and you're wearing helmet, pads, the whole nine.
Yeah.
You have your morning practice and then you stop. Well, instead of recovering in the air conditioning, drinking a Gatorade and playing Nintendo. Like my recovery was like baling hay or feeding hogs or like, so then I would go like, I'd go right to the farm and like a lot of times we'd be baling straw or hay that time of year. And you're just like lifting bales after doing football practice.
Yeah.
And then you had the afternoon football practice. And then, after that I would go do the, nighttime chores. So 2 football practices with a, farm work in between and chores before and after, would really that would really wear you out. So
I'm exhausted just listening to it.
Yeah. There was like no amount of food I could eat that would help me like maintain weight. So,
you know what? There's so many benefits to that too. I mean, connection to the land, obviously appreciation for where your food comes from, obviously all the work that goes in to getting it to that shelf on the grocery store that most people don't even think about these days, or a lot of people don't anyway.
Yeah.
But what always, impressed me about you, I remember distinctly from 2000. So we've known each other 22 years. And just how hard you worked when you showed up in that platoon. It was noticeable how you always volunteered for everything and you always worked harder than everybody else. Last person to leave, like all of that. You and Happy doing all the armory stuff. Armory, that job's probably the most intensive anyway. Yeah. But I mean, you guys took it next level and did such a good job with it, and you were always there and always working. So I remember that. I remember you being like, yeah, this isn't that bad. Like I still have like 3 more hours of chores to do normally. And you're just, doing your inventories and all that sort of a thing. But that sticks out to me to this day.
No, I appreciate it. And he was and is a hard worker.
Oh yeah.
And I was grateful. It took me a while, but at some point, and I think it was when I was in Virginia Beach, I called my dad and I was like, you know what, Dad? Thank you. Because I have a really good work ethic and I can handle more than most when it comes to like, hey, we got to show up and do all this. So I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. It's definitely noticed. And everyone else noticed as well. And that brings everybody else's levels up, which is awesome. And you've done that throughout your life, whether in the military or out. But did your parents ever talk to you about like the finances, or are hogs kind of like cattle and do things fluctuate and that sort of a thing? Yeah. How does that work? Or were you aware of that growing up, or was there a point in time where you became aware of it?
Yeah, I knew it was hard, like, because you didn't have like control on, what you're selling it for or when. Like you're going to sell your grain when it comes out of the field.
Right.
And you're going to sell your hogs when they're ready to sell. You don't want to hold on to them too long. They just keep eating feed. Right. So, for me, it was like, I became distinctly aware when I was in middle school and was showing, like I would show hogs at the fair, and my dad would, I give him a lot of credit for this. So my dad and my uncle, who were partners in the farm, they'd sell me like, let's say 1 or 2 pens of hogs. So call it 30 to 60 hogs that they would sell to me on an interest-free loan, right? So I own those hogs. I'd pay them back later because I didn't, as a 7th grader, I didn't have the working capital to buy, that many hogs. So they'd sell me these hogs. I would, have to feed them and raise them. And then when the fair came, I would choose the top 3 to go show. And then, I would, at the end of that season, so to speak, they would sell all those hogs, they would drive them to market, and I would get the proceeds, right? So I'd get this big check. I would then pay my dad and uncle back for the cost of those hogs, as well as the cost of the feed that it would have taken to bring them to market weight.
Okay.
But I would have this like, I'd write it down on a sheet of paper, and I'm like, oh man, I made a few $1,000s, pretty good for an 8th grader, right?
Yeah, not bad.
And I was pretty stingy with it. So I had I would keep that, at least once a year. And then there were a couple of years when like my dad would sell a load of like corn and soybeans in my name at the elevator. So let's say I had a couple hundred bushel or 1,000 bushel, or I forget the number, but that grain is in an elevator in my name.
Yeah.
And every month that it's there, I'd be paying storage on it. It's kind of like a bank.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm watching the commodities markets, I'll try to sell it high, right? Because it was a gift to me. And I'll never forget. I don't remember I hope no one quotes me on this, but I remember there was a time where I listened to a report on the radio and they were projecting soybeans to go up $2 a bushel. Mm-hmm. And they said, don't sell, hold what you got. So I held what I had. And sure enough, like a couple of weeks later, soybeans went up $2 a bushel. And for me, it ended up being like a couple thousand extra dollars.
Yeah,
so,
wow.
My dad never actually paid me to work on the farm.
Yeah.
So I had to, buy and sell hogs on an interest-free loan, or I would get these, I would get grain in my name, but I never made a dime for working there. But I, graduated high school like 20 grand in the bank because I had done these like big kind of bigger things. And then I would do chores for neighbors,
didn't have enough work at home.
Well, I wanted some spending money.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I would go and I would mow lawns and rake leaves and go do chores around their farm or whatever. Right. But yeah, I was always it was nonstop. I had a summer where I would do, and this is like in middle school before going into high school. Like I was on the swim team doing practicing every morning, doing one meet a week.
Yeah.
I was playing baseball, practicing every afternoon, and doing a game in the week and a game on the weekend, lifting weights, doing chores on the farm, and all this stuff. Like, I don't even know. I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, I don't know how that's possible.
It's incredible.
I can't do it now. I don't have that much energy anymore.
Oh man, it's just more DEFY.
Yeah, I definitely would need a lot of DEFY to get through that day.
Oh man, that's incredible. And the finance part was it, and I'll get the gist of this right, but I think Dwight Eisenhower, he said something along the lines of farming looks pretty easy when your plow is a pencil and you're 1,000 miles from a cornfield.
I love that.
Yeah. And it stuck with me, not just for farming, but for really anything that people in Washington don't understand about the rest of the country because they haven't physically done it themselves or haven't built a business or whatever it might be. But I feel that quote is fairly
I love it.
relevant, even outside of farming. But who got a great work ethic in this family is our daughter. And you were there for, I forget which birthday, her 4th birthday, maybe 5th birthday. Yeah. And you did the piñata off the balcony in Coronado. Yep. She still remembers that. It's oh my gosh, that's great. So she works at a restaurant here in town, and we didn't even say anything about it. She just wanted to do it and went out there and got this job. And it's been 2 years now. And she loves paying for everything on her own, paying for her gas now that she's driving. Can you believe that? Crazy. Yeah. But she pays for all that on her own and takes a lot of pride in being there and working hard and taking double shifts and taking other people's shifts and saving up and puts half of it away to save. Without even being told, she just started doing that right off the bat. It was amazing. But that work ethic has served you well. And there's so many benefits to growing up in the way that you did. It's just super, super cool. So then you get to the SEAL teams and you breeze through training because it's so easy, because it's not the farm, and get to the teams. Hey, I forget, when did you realize that you had some medical thing? That was it like before the like they shouldn't have let you in, or was it like at Team 5? I forgot.
Well, it's such a long story. So I had these pains growing up that sometimes would like buckle me over, and I had been, never really got a good diagnosis. And then in the Navy, it was like, oh, we think it's like irritable bowel syndrome, right? Which, come to find out, it was kidney stones. Well, given that diagnosis, and I had one of those like attacks during Hell Week. So like I had a kidney stone during Hell Week, right? Like, which is like two of the, I don't know, most horrible things at the same time. It got
Hell Week and kidney stone.
Yeah. And so anyway, that was before that's part of my training and before I got to Team 5. Long story short, I was on a second platoon. We were at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I had an attack like that, but it never went away. It was like a week. So basically it was a stone that was too big to pass. So I finally went to a local doctor, off-base doctor, Clint Bruce's stepfather, by the way.
Okay.
And I got like an X-ray with contrast, which is like this fluid that can see, the passing of whatever in your kidney and your bladder and all that, plumbing. And they're like, whoa, there's a big stone here. So they went to I went home, I went back to San Diego. I went to Balboa. They tried to, remove the stone with like sound wave therapy, which is like, they bash you in the abdomen with these sound waves, which breaks the stone up.
Wow.
And so you kind of wake up and it feels like, someone was just throwing hooks to your body for like an hour. So then you get peed out the stones. And then they went in to kind of fix there's a tube between your kidney and your, bladder called your ureter. And mine had scar tissue in it, which they suspect I was born with. So they went in to give, like, it's supposed to be like an hour surgery. And I woke up like 9 hours later without a kidney in Balboa Hospital. So
yeah, I remember.
I signed
that part.
Like I signed a waiver, like on the hospital bed. I signed a waiver to stay in the military because you're not like, they're like, hey,
they would have let you in with one, right?
Right. And they're like, well, now you're kicked out. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, and, but then a guy from Team 5 Medical named Les.
I remember that name. I can't feel
yeah. Though. So he rolls in, he's like, well, I think I found this waiver and da-da-da. So I signed this waiver to stay in the military, like on the hospital bed. And I'm still wild. I'm still on the morphine handle, I'm like, it was no question, right? I signed it. Well, fast forward to 2008. So 2008, I get IED'd. At this time, I'm at Dev Group. So I get IED'd in Iraq. And I didn't get injured too badly. I just it was a bad IED.
Didn't a wall fall on you?
Well, the building we were getting ready to go into was rigged to explode. And I was thankfully by the window because I was the first man to that building. And I stopped at the window to clear into the room as the team went by me. And there were some guys in there waiting for us. So I was like engaging them in the window. And then as the main team was going through the front door, which had a rooftop over it, the whole house blew up. And so they kind of got crushed. And what saved me was being by the window, like all the overpressure blew me away from the building, like 20, 30 feet away. So I had a pretty bad concussion. I couldn't like stand up for a little while. They're like, so, I got a Purple Heart for getting a concussion while other people like died and got crushed and stuff like that. So
was that Mike and Nate?
Mike and Nate was like 3 nights before that. So this was like a very busy deployment, but so Louis Safrant died that night with the IED. Anyway, long story, when you get a Purple Heart, like the Bureau of Navy Medicine knows about it. And then they're like, I think
someone looked in your record outside of Naval Special Warfare.
Yeah. So they looked in my record and they're like, well, how's it possible for
this guy's only got one kidney?
Well, he's got a waiver. I guess the waiver I signed was like, I was supposed to be non-deployable. And so from 2002 to that point, I had been deploying my fair share, and then they show up at the command, and they're like, well, where's this Frohardt at? And I was literally like, when they showed up, I was at the 14,000 foot camp on Denali.
Wow.
So my CO, like, they went and talked to medical at the command, and they talked to like my CO, and my CO was like, well, he's climbing Denali. And then they're like, well, he's not fit to serve anymore. And my CO, who was hilarious, he goes, well, he's fit enough to climb Denali. Isn't that good enough? It was so funny.
Oh man.
Anyway,
that is so crazy.
Yeah, that was kind of the combination of the loss of the kidney. And then I had like, a lot of overuse injuries. And then I got hurt in combat, and they're like all this other stuff. And they're like, hey, you can't deploy anymore. Yeah. And then ultimately that's what led to me getting a medical retirement in 2010. So the goal was always to do, 20 years, but the Bureau of Navy Medicine had other plans.
They found out about you. They found out. Oh man. Did they send you home from that deployment when the building blew up? Oh, you stayed?
No, so I think we had a 7-man assault team, in my little team at the squadron, and like that we deployed with. And at the end of that, I was the only one who stayed. So everyone else did not. I was the only one who finished that deployment.
Oh, geez.
So it was a rough one. Like that, like I said, Super Bowl Sunday was a couple nights before that. And that's when Mike and Nate died, and a couple other guys got, shot. So pretty busy little trip.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
So wild. Now going back though, so that Team 5 doc that gave you that waiver, I wonder if he knew, or he's just like, oh, I found this waiver, you can stay in, and you're like, oh, sign. And then if it had been any other command probably in the military, someone would have looked at that and been like, oh, he's also non-deployable. Let's go tell him that, and let's tell his command that, and figure out if he's going to stay around here in an admin capacity, or if he's going to medically retire, or if we're going to send him somewhere outside of special operations to finish out his time, whatever. But this is NSW, and it was still Team 5 back in the day, and I'm sure things are not electronic service records yet, probably. Maybe that's just coming online, and you sign this thing, it goes into some, into this folder that's growing, by the day, essentially. And it's just another piece of paper in there that you signed, along with all this other stuff that you don't even understand, and you stayed.
It's like it went somewhere in like that warehouse, like on Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's somewhere in this. I don't know where, but I don't know if he wants to be mentioned. I'll just say his first name is Les. Yeah, and he was he was the guy who did that. And come to find out, I would later see him. He would later be at Dev Group as well in a support role. So he's an awesome guy, and he, hey, I really, I wanted to be a SEAL for 20 years, and I was in a great place at a great time in history for the time that I was there, and I wanted to stay longer. And then when, I didn't make a decision to get out, the Navy medically retired me. So I have, it happened, and I had my, I had my share of close calls, from we talked about 2 of them just a moment ago, and having been IED'd 3 different times, and grenades blowing up all over, and just stuff like that. Like, my wife was not my wife, but my teammates were pretty sure that I don't, if you have 9 lives, I have definitely burnt 8.
Yeah.
So when I got the medical retirement, and I'm, it just kind of, hey, it is what it is. I took it and moved on.
Yeah. No, amazing. And, but our first deployment, together. So my second, your first, like 2 weeks into that was September 11th. And, so we'd been together at that point for a little over a year, doing our workup together, and, going through the Team 5 stuff, and then, deploy to Guam. And we think we're going to, maybe go to Okinawa, maybe Thailand, maybe Australia.
Pacific Cruise.
Yeah, and then 2 weeks into it, I mean, I remember my room. I remember the posters I had on the wall. I had this American handgunner with a Larry Vickers 45 up there. I had some, we didn't have, I think we might have had computers or phones, but we didn't have like TVs. Nothing was like streaming or anything. You couldn't
there was a TV at the end of the hallway.
You remember it as at the end of the hallway. I remember it as in the basement.
Oh, well, I remember running to the end of the hallway because they had like a tiki bar. And again, who knows? I might, sorry, my dog.
Because we watched it together. Yeah. And my memory is distinctly, yours is distinctly end of the hallway and mine is distinctly of a basement.
And hey, we've had our share of head injuries. So it's probably a basement at the end of the hallway.
Between those two. Yeah. But I remember the phone ringing, and the phone's ringing up and down that hallway. And I remember people knocking on doors and everybody opening the doors and then going into the hallway and then going either to the end of the hall or to the basement and then watching the Twin Towers fall on TV. I think we had CNN on. And
oh my gosh.
We all sat there, like the whole platoon. I think everyone was there except for the head shed. They lived elsewhere.
They had
but we were in our little
head
rooms.
Shed berthing.
Yes. They had probably nicer places, I guess. But I remember us all being in there. The E5 Mafia, everybody being there.
I remember. I'm gonna let my dog out a second.
Yeah, do it.
I remember very distinctly. So Leah was back in San Diego. So we had somehow a phone in our rooms.
Yeah, I remember the phones.
She called me and she's like, "Hey, someone just bombed the World Trade Center." Mm-hmm. And then I was, it was early there or whatever, or actually it would have been late there because it was like early on something. Yeah, it was early on the West Coast, and my wife was up early preparing for a college final, right? Kind of cramming last minute. So, and I'm like, what? You're not making any sense. And I go down to the end of the hallway and people or into the basement hallway or whatever it was. People start to trickle in and then everyone kind of gets there in time and there's, a hole or whatever. And like, man, maybe some pilot just screwed up and flew his Cessna or his helicopter. And then we're all kind of sitting there. And then in real time, we watched the second plane come in. It was like, whoa. And then everything changed after that moment. Like the ramp up, we didn't know where we were going to go. We just started training very seriously, loading our gear, getting ready for, we got all this jungle gear. Looks like we might go to the desert. I remember you doing your, briefing us on UBL and Al Qaeda. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty rad. You knew all that stuff. It was, you're a student of history, obviously, and you knew all about that. It was very, very, it was a scary time, but like, what an interesting time, right? To be, in the roles we had.
Oh yeah. I remember I thought we were going to go. I thought we were going to the show. Like, wow, we're in that position that everyone talks about the timing wise. Like, remember everybody would always say before September 11th, you can't chase it, these things. Yep. And they were looking back on things, flashpoints like Mogadishu or First Gulf War or Grenada or Panama, that sort of a thing. They're looking at those flashpoints. You can't chase it. We're like, wow, we're in the right place at the right time. We're going in. Right. And I missed the loadout part because me and Sharp, remember, we had to go and do PSD for what they called at the time Commander Singpack Fleet. I think they changed the name since. And he was going to these different countries to shore up alliances with different allies, and went to the Philippines. We went to a few other places. But man, we didn't know that much about what was going on. So we would just load up and just had grenades all over us and knives all over us and mags. And we'd be out there essentially, guarding the plane or guarding a building or whatever it might be. But, no one really knew anything yet. And you're like, every time you landed somewhere, you thought you were going to immediately get attacked because there's American flags on this jet and all that. But I think that was like a week or so, or maybe a little bit more. And then we came back and by that time you guys had everything palletized, essentially. And off we went on those C-17s to the Middle East, and still hoping we're going to get after it, and then end up taking the shipboarding operations for Team 3, which before September 11th was awesome, sounded
Was the
awesome. That's
show.
where you wanted to
Yeah.
go and what you wanted to
Yeah.
do. After September 11th, you wanted to get into Afghanistan as fast as you could.
Yep.
So that's just how it went. Did we give them our like snowshoes and stuff like that? Or did they call REI and have them ship them to Kuwait? I forget how that
I don't
worked, but they
know.
didn't have any cold weather stuff and we did. And then they ended up going.
So I mean, obviously very jealous. Like I was jealous when we replaced them so they could go to, Afghanistan, but whatever. It worked out.
It did work out.
I think it was as I look back, it was interesting. Like, hey, we got a few real world shipboardings. I remember I'm a brand new guy, and there was a night where our lead climber got his gun like stuck in the ladder and couldn't go, and I was holding the ladder and he tapped me, and I climbed an underway non-compliant shipboarding, did a lead climb, had to climb up there and set a runner and put the little chem light over the edge and say come on up, and I'm thinking like it's like some Iranian ship and I'm just waiting to get lit up on the bridge.
Full of terrorists right there.
Gosh.
Ready to do the invasion USA and
I mean, as a 22-year-old, I'm like, oh, this is pretty rad.
I look back on it too, same way, because that was the only time that we got to do that kind of a boarding. And after that, we got to go to Iraq and Afghanistan and do those things. But that was the only time where we got to do. I mean, we boarded like a Dow first, and then the Class 3 tankers and like a bunch of stuff in between. But that was super interesting. Now looking back on it, remember that picture of us, me and you there. You posted it a little while ago, and like your balaclava is up like this. Like
I know, and I have like this big, Darth helmet, Spaceballs helmet on, and
the helmets were so bad.
A headlamp that I got from REI.
The big old headlamps. Yeah, a couple double A's. Maybe it was even more. Maybe it was like C's on the back or something. I don't remember. But,
but at least we were rocking MP5s.
MP5s. So. We got to rock the MP5s before those went away, and all they left us was the SDs. But got to rock. Do you remember the night I went in the drink? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I remember we were doing like between the two boats, and I'm like, I think we were moving. Like,
we didn't stop for some reason. We always kept moving.
Why don't we stop? Like, if we're gonna
I'm sure there's a reason. I don't know what it is though.
I know. And you went into the ocean with your radio on your back
at night, not waterproofed.
Yeah. Well, I was like, oh, dude, he's like, I remember that well.
Yeah. I remember it well too. I remember talking to our chief afterward, and he thought that was the last that you guys were going to see of me. So we kept moving. So the Mark V is kind of like a PT boat for those listening, like bigger. And then the rigid hull inflatable boat is like a smaller version that has these rubber sides so that you can bounce up against things and all that. And it's a lot smaller. And so we do the shipboardings off that rib. And then after we're done, we'd come back to the larger Mark V and have to jump between them. And for whatever reason, man, something hit a swell just the wrong way, and right between the two.
Right between the two. It was pretty dicey. I don't know how it worked out this way, but there were nights when I would be a lead climber. Well, actually, the one time that I did, Happy, had done the lead climbing, I was right behind him. His gun got stuck, so I replaced him, but then there were other nights, you're a brand new guy, like you're a breacher. So there was a night when I was carrying the torch, and I actually got to, on an underway vessel, bust out the torch and like make a diamond cut into the side of this, moving ship. And it was like, that was a trip. And that thing, those tanks on your back and trying to climb with those or whatever, like that was, I'm looking back on it, like kind of like wearing a heavy radio. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And it's like a bomb on your back.
Yeah, basically. That's a good point. Yeah, I think I remember why you had to do, why you were a lead climber a couple other times. I think because Hap had to go to that ship and get on the helicopter. So he would do sniper overwatch on that, on that helo. And and then so that put you in the point man lead climber position, and off you went. Like we had some great ISRs on a VHS tape somewhere. Our OIC had. Do you remember that from that one? And I guess it's from a helicopter or maybe I don't know, maybe another aircraft. I forget, but it was pretty cool because you see us approach, you see us hook, you see us climb, you see us move off, and with like pistols, and then it was really, really cool.
It was like the FLIR video. It was like the FLIR video, right? From the was it IS? Yeah,
really cool. That's what it was. That's right. That's right. Exactly what it was. And that was really cool. And I think that was the one. And I remember us watching it because I was like, oh no, it's going to show this thing that I do. And I'm climbing up I'm climbing up this thing, and I forget why it took longer than usual or whatever. But I went to get up, and I think I'm right behind Happy on this one. I think. And Hap goes over, he does the secures it or whatever, and then he takes security, and I come up behind. And I went, and it's night, and things are bouncing around. I don't think the weather was great. And I went to pull up and get over that edge, and it caught, because our body armor was huge. Remember that body armor? It was like, it was crazy. And so I caught, and then everything, you're right, your MP5 and everything else, and the radio.
All there.
And I'm trying to get over this thing, and I couldn't push out to get over this thing because you have so much stuff on. And I remember I'm like, Hap. And he turns, and for whatever reason, the ISR moves away. Right at that time. So it just shows me climbing and getting to that point, and it turns away, and then it pans back, and I'm on moving, and it looks like so legit. It looked awesome. But really Happy came over and got me over. But that was a cool one. That takedown was pretty cool. I remember. And then doing the exothermic torch and the quickie saw to make that. Yeah. Do you remember what we did? Why we did the cut those triangles or cut those things in?
For throwing the smokes in.
That's right. Yeah. And did we get in trouble for that? Or was it did we ask to use CS gas and we couldn't because it was some chemical warfare thing, and they were like, you can't do that. So we just threw in orange smoke or something.
Yeah. No, I remember that. I remember having this, I don't know, someone came up with the asinine idea to bring reserve parachutes.
What? I don't remember this.
To foul the
screw. I do remember this now.
And we were going to so
that's right. Where did that idea come from? Did we try it?
I think we were going to. We never did. So just so people understand, these boats are coming down and they're skirting in and out of Iranian water. Mm-hmm. And there was a time when the boat, we are on this ship, it's a tanker, and it's going into Iranian water. And one of the courses of action is to just jump overboard.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you don't want to be on a boat that is getting blasted at or boarded by the Iranian Navy.
No.
So we had this idea well, if we can't get into the bridge to stop them or make them change course, or into the engineering room to kill the motor, what if we foul the props or the screws? So someone, I don't know, it may have been our chief, who shall remain unnamed. But we were going to tie the parachute onto a climbing line onto something solid on the fantail, and pop a reserve into the water and hope it would foul the screw.
Yeah.
It might have worked.
I don't know. I mean, now I'm wondering, those things are pretty powerful though, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's just so wild. And remember they had barbed wire strewn about the decks to foul lines, so you couldn't fast rope. So that took the helo option out. They took those cut the ladders off everywhere. So you had to hook again sometimes when you got onto the deck. You had to get up to that whatever they call that tower part. You had to hook again and climb again to get
bridge
up there.
Wing.
Is it the bridge wing?
Something like that.
Something like that. I used fantail. I was very impressed by the fantail reference a little while ago. That was very good. Port, starboard, bow, fantail, all those things.
One time they actually created a metal box inside the bridge. So if you breached into the bridge, there was another box around the helm.
Gosh. Wow.
Which, they were very, very creative.
Oh yeah. And those sheets, metal sheets that were welded on and all that. So we had to breach through there, throw in the smoke to make them come out, essentially open the door, and then we'd go in. I remember being an E5 on the deck, with my GPS, and then looking at the compass and turning a class 3 tanker back into international waters. And then you turn it over to a prize crew, people who actually know what they're doing in the Navy, can actually drive these things. And then we'd get off and go maybe do it again the next night or whatever it might be.
it did serve me well. Like, I went, so like I said, I went to dev group later, and then we were doing our first, I'll just say shipboarding block there. And I was with my team leader and and they're talking and such. And, I was the only guy in my squadron who had a few
there you go.
real world shipboardings.
That's right.
Not that it pales in comparison to what, other people in my squadron had done, but it helped
Different.
me. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, hey, I can. So like I was a brand new guy, and they made me right into a lead climber.
There you go. There you
cool.
go. Man, we got in pretty good shape on that deployment too, because it was we're in Kuwait. If you're not boarding, like you would what do we have, like blue and gold, like nights or whatever, with another platoon and all that. Was it 4 days on or something like 3 days on, something like that? But so we got in pretty good shape. I remember what workout you were doing. Do you remember? I remember your workout in those days.
I forget that time.
Ken Shamrock.
I have.
Here's the Ken Shamrock squats.
Oh yeah. The Lion's Den squat.
There it is.
How many? Yeah. Like you had to be able to do. Oh man, with like a set of 500 or something. Body weight squat.
That's right. You were a body weight squatting machine on that deployment.
Oh my gosh. And I had this funny, like, and I had a Runner's World 4-day-a-week running program.
Nice.
That I was doing on the treadmill. On the treadmill there.
I remember.
That gym was like legit.
Yeah. I remember doing no running because I didn't want to. I was like, gotta get yoked. So that one I put on some pounds. That was awesome.
You did.
I was throwing some weight around on that deployment. Those are the still pre-CrossFit days, still pre-functional fitness type days, still like old school 1980s encyclopedia of bodybuilding days.
Back buys, chest tries.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And back at the team, we would have done, some soft sand runs or swim or something like that. But on deployment, it was just about back and buys,
hitting the iron.
That's right.
Getting that myoplex from the exchange.
That's right. The myoplex. Hilarious. And then we'd always get in trouble for wearing flip flops. Remember the flip flops in the chow hall?
And you guys we'd put the little blousing straps.
Exactly. Blousing straps around, because you could wear sandals but not flip flops. So we took those little tiny things, and then somebody got crazy about it. Remember somebody they made something, we couldn't even do that anymore. We couldn't make them into sandals by putting these little tiny blouse straps around your ankle to get just one of those things.
I remember I seem to recall the main reason for you putting on weight was either, because I remember in the warehouse, like our bunks were right across each other.
Yeah.
And I remember you had like all these books, and one of them was either The One That Got Away or Bravo 20. And one of those guys had like bulked up and he had credited it to his survival. Right. So it's kind of like if you watch the show Alone, they gain weight before they go so that they can starve. And I remember you telling me like, well, if I go on E&E and I'm bigger, I have like more fuel to burn.
Dang, that sounds exactly like me.
I don't know if that was the case. Like, we might be on E&E here in Kuwait, but
I think I was still hoping. I think I still had hopes of getting into Afghanistan. It was still early enough where things were kind of unknown. So I thought I still might be able to sneak in there somehow. But I think it's Chris Ryan's The One That Got Away, because I read Bravo 20 earlier, and I had Chris Ryan on the podcast, and I made notes in the front of it, and it was about night vision and a few things like that. And I read those to him on the podcast. And what a great guy. But that's what he did. And that's what when I would think about my E&E kit, because remember before that, people would have these E&E kits and there'd be like fishing lures and like all these things in there. Like you could essentially, survive for months with these kits. And then I read that book and I was like, I'm just going to run to Syria like Chris Ryan if something happens, if we're around, whatever, the neighboring country. I'm going to run into Pakistan or whatever it is. And these are my getaway sticks. And if I'm bulked up, my body can have a little more fuel.
I did. It's so funny. Around. It's so funny you say that. So I distinctly remember, I believe it was The One That Got Away, and he was big and it helped him on his E&E. And that was one of your one of your, reasons. So I don't know if again, could have been the same thing as the basement or the hallway, but that's what I remember.
Oh yeah.
And I'll never forget later on in my career, doing a mission with those guys, the Brits. I was, in Afghanistan and augmenting them on one of their missions as a navigator, point man, and a sniper.
Nice.
And it was like literally like a 60-minute E&E brief as part of their overall brief.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Like, it's serious stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at my so I was a team leader at the time, and I looked at my number 2 guy who was with me, and I was like, this radio is our E&E plan.
Yeah.
That's it. We're getting out of here. We're running and getting someone to pick us up.
I had a couple different compasses, different GPS, actual compass, little watch compass. One of these things is going to work, and I'll be able to be like, okay, northwest, northeast, south, wherever I'm running, wherever that closest border is, and I'm just
stealing a Hilux and rolling.
Yeah, because we have pistols still, even if something else gets blown off us like that, and we can use that to steal a majority of vehicles in the world. That's wild. But that was a great experience in that platoon. I mean, we had some interesting personalities. Yeah. I remember, and then got back, and then I got to go to Uzbekistan because I thought, that's closer, and I got to go there and do a little sniper thing up there with the Uzbek Special Forces. So I got to do that, which was a pretty cool experience. And then I'd already decided to go to OCS before that deployment, before September 11th. Otherwise, I probably would have made a different decision had September 11th happened in like February of 2001 instead of when it did. So I came back, did that, went to OCS, and then and you did another platoon at Team 5. And where did you guys go on that one?
That one we went
Okinawa?
to Okinawa. Yeah. It was brutal. And that's right at I'll summarize it by saying I went on a 9.5-month deployment.
9.5 months? Why was it so long?
3 weeks.
And that's not long for Army guys. I mean, Army year, some of these guys, 14 months, I remember. In Baghdad in 2004, these guys were at the year mark, and then maybe it was even longer. Then they got to the airport. Some had flown home already, and then they had to stay longer, and some people had to fly back. And anyway, Army puts in some time. But why was yours 9? Ours were typically 6.
Yeah. So before I forget, I ran into dudes when I was in Iraq. This was on one of my dev group trips, but they were on month 18. Wow. Like they were a striker brigade. Like, hey, we need the strikers here.
Getting after
and I was like 18 months.
Wow.
Like, that is legit.
That's putting out.
That is putting out. But yeah, so we ended up deploying early to relieve a platoon that was there so that they could go to Iraq. That was great. So we go there to Oki, and they're like, we were like as people would understand, you kind of train with another platoon. You have a sister platoon situation. Yeah. And ours was always really good. We had a really solid platoon. I was surprised that we didn't get to go to, the Iraq deployment. But there was some like talk at the time, like, oh, there's this, Abu Sayyaf group and we were doing this planning for Indonesia and the Philippines. Some of it materialized, I did a bunch of jungle stuff. And then for a while I, spent some time on a ship, and we were, chasing down, kids just came home, chasing down Abu Sayyaf and some other stuff. So that was interesting. And in hindsight, like, it was kind of great because I had the Kuwait deployment.
Yeah. And
then I had this deployment in the middle before everything was Iraq or Afghanistan.
Right.
So I finally, I did get the chance to, go to some fun places that, not necessarily all of it, most of it wasn't combat, but we got to do Australia. I got to go to Thailand finally, the Philippines, Malaysia, all these cool places. So I got to do that, and I eventually I would get to Iraq or Afghanistan plenty. So it was nice. Like it was nice to just have that. And, like I said, things work out, but yeah, it was, Okinawa, where you guys had gone previous.
That's right. Yeah. The one before that. So I think, 1999, I had 28, 99 in there, 99.
Yeah.
You got to do some
great base,
trips.
Great base, by the way. Like if you're going to be stuck somewhere and, we traveled a bunch from there. So, it is what it is.
Kadena.
Kadena.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Oh man. Wow. And then you get back and then do you screen right away or had you already screened? Did you know where you were going?
Yeah. I right away screened when I came home. And then, I wasn't able to screen the prior to because, I was still getting my waiver jammed through the Navy. So
you still had to pass a kidney stone. Oh,
yeah, I had the kidney thing. And actually so the screening test was a week after my kidney removal.
Oh my gosh.
And as you know, so that was the year that my kidney got removed. I couldn't take that test because, my abdominal wall was cut like a foot, right? So I couldn't laugh, let alone do a sit-up. So I screened after that deployment, which meant I had to wait till the following year. And then I went to training detachment for a year, a little over a year, which was actually great. It was a lot of travel, but I got to, go to Shaw's and stuff like that.
You got to go to Shaw's a lot. And, I remember you got to go to Shaw's a lot, and you got to go there a little bit beforehand, right? Didn't you go to wait at Tradette or something?
That's where when I was at Tradette for that time, and I would go there on all our trips, and I would go there. I mean, I maybe went there more. I might have gone there more than 6 times between, my time at Team 5 and going to the, the command. And I was already, they have this Hall of Fame thing there, the Medal Mania thing. And before I even went to, the command, I was on this little Hall of Fame there. So it like the Medal Mania board.
Yeah.
And I was like, that actually didn't do me any favors when I was going through training. They're like, well, what are you're already on this thing? Like, how many times have you been here? Da, 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 da. Anyway, it was, it definitely helped though, with the training.
I'm sure it did. And I remember talking to you about it as you're going through, cause I'm at Team 2 at the time, finished OCS, went to Team 2, and then you're going through training. So we're back there in the same general area of operations. But remember our trip?
Neighbors.
That's right. Yeah, right. Neighbors together. And man, do you remember when we went to Shaw's though at Team 5? Either you beat me or we tied. I forget. Remember? It was like you were good, like out of the gate, but I forget. Either you beat me or we tied. I remember that thing, whatever that was. But I remember a competition with you there because I wasn't too much. I wasn't a slouch on the pistol or the rifle. But I remember us being the last 2 on something.
Yep. Yeah. And then so not long after that, Ken got mad at me for winning or being in the top 2. And
that's so funny.
It was so hilarious. Well, but to your point, you remind me of something. I actually, before I was in that platoon, before I was in Delta platoon, and I was working in Master at Arms, someone got hurt in, it was like Andy Stump's and Jason Lewis's platoon. I forget which one that was. Maybe it was Charlie or whatever, but they had an extra spot on a Shaw's trip.
Oh, so you'd been there already.
I went to Shaw's as a non-platoon, Master at Arms worker.
Nice.
And so I actually had kind of cheated again. I got to go there.
You had a week on me, at least, or maybe 2.
I got to go there before our platoon went, and then our platoon went. I'm like, oh, who's this new guy? I'm like,
nice. I don't think I knew that, or if I did, I forgot. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mentioned it after the trip.
I don't think it ever registered with me.
Yeah, I didn't want to get hazed
awesome.
too bad for it. So.
Oh, that's right. The hazing. Oh, there's something new article. Did you see the article in the paper yesterday? Or the paper, whatever it is. And what are they? They're making there was making Bud's students sing a song with the CS gas or whatever that was. And they're all like, oh, hazing, it's too horrible. And it was yesterday, right? I think I came out yesterday.
I saw someone, actually a coworker, sent it to me, and she was like, do you think this is abusive? And I go, yeah, it's supposed to be.
It's not even that bad.
No, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. And you don't understand, like, everyone who's being tear gassed right there is volunteering to be there. They can leave at any time. They can quit at any time. And you just want to have, whether it's, the Rangers, the Green Berets, the Recon Marines, or the Navy SEAL teams, whatever, you want people who want to be there and won't quit no matter what. And that's one way of doing it.
Has anyone ever quit over that, though? I mean, it's not even that bad. And everybody does it. Remember, we did it in boot camp for the Navy. I think we had to go in that chamber, right? And then you have your gas mask on, right? And then they
take it off
the gas, and then you have to take it off, or you have to do it with it on first to make sure to show you how it works. And then you take it off, and you have to stay in there for a certain amount of time, and then you come out, and you're just kind of like, snot's coming out of your mouth, whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
But I think everyone does that in every boot camp and every service. Just in this one, they make you sing a song while you're doing it, maybe keep you there a little longer or something. But I don't even remember it. It was so not even. It wasn't even to the level that I remember it being bad. It was just I remember there being gas in the air and doing the obstacle course or something.
There was way harder stuff.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Everything was harder than that.
That was I don't have to.
They can't even see me to yell at me right now. They're yelling at the group.
Yeah, it's if I lay on the ground screaming, just snotting everywhere, they're not going to be mad at me. It's kind of easy.
It's such a weird thing, but it just goes to show, clicks. These different news organizations are looking for clicks, or looking to stir things up, or whatever. That's a nothing.
And you have the experts weighing in, I think this is abusive, and this is not right. And like you said, I mean, they're 1,000 miles away with their pencil trying to decide how to make a seal.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. You can't, as you've said before, you can't mass produce these guys.
That's right. One of the soft truths right there. Special Operations Forces truth.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And so you get through that training at your next command on the East Coast. And how long is it before you deploy?
Right away. I finished that training and deployed a couple of weeks later.
Oh, a couple of weeks. Wow.
Because they were already over. They were already gone.
Okay. So did you go to Afghanistan or Iraq? Was it
that was Iraq.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're
went right away. Yep. Went right over there. Moved into a room with my team leader, and it was, talk about intimidated, fresh out of that training. And now I'm, with my new team and my new team leader. And it was pretty amazing. And then, I just, we did that. So it had probably been, about 2/3 of a deployment, because they had already gone. Came back from that, and such a funny story. The two new guys in our little 6-man team, one of the guys was bigger and stronger, so to speak, and then there was me, and my team leader just looks at the big guy like, you are a breacher and you're a lead climber. And
nice.
And then I was like, so that's how I became a lead climber on my little team. And not to mention all the awesome deployments, but I got to do some pretty cool, big wall climbs and mountaineering trips, and, and really dive into cold weather stuff. And it was just, it was just pretty incredible. So,
when did you go on your, when did you start doing that kind of training? So you're on this first deployment. What are your takeaways from being essentially a new guy at that command? What do you come back with from that? You guys just doing direct action missions every night type of a thing? And what are you taking away from that time downrange?
Yeah, just I thought I was really, I was going through, my green team. I was good shot, good at CQB, good at most everything. And then just when I got over there, I'm like, whoa, like the speed at which things happened on target was just like next level. And it was, it was hard to get used to because I didn't do the workup. Like with the, if I fast forward to the next workup when I deployed with my group, and how quickly we could take down a building, right? Just because you're doing, at that team, without getting too specific, you're doing CQB 4 or 5 days a week, right? You at minimum 3, and you're doing like long CQB training, like as a group, and you're doing day runs, night runs, all sorts of stuff. And you get to where you're just looking at your teammate by night vision, and you can tell who it is by, what they're wearing and how they're standing and how they look. And you can tell if they're tired or if they're, or if they're turned on. You can tell if they're going to go right or left. I mean, you just have that. You earn that through those hours and hours of doing that training. And so that was the biggest difference between the first and the second one, because that first deployment, I didn't get to get wrapped into it, so to speak. And then the second one, I did the whole workup and did all the CQB, and it was much different because now I was being brought along at that pace, so to speak.
Man. And when was your first IED hit?
The first one would have been, it was in Iraq, and it was actually on a riverbank.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we were on one of the boats doing a boat insert.
Nice.
And they had put IEDs on riverbanks. And I didn't get actually any shrapnel or anything from that one, but it was pretty close to our boat. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Dang. And then,
so they were remote detonated. They were watching and just waiting until you got close enough, type of a thing.
Yep. And then I was in in Afghanistan. I was working with the Canadians or something, and I was in one of their troop carriers in the Helmand, and we rolled over an IED, and it blew up between mine and the next one.
Wow.
And it was 2 anti-tank mines.
Oh.
So very lucky with that one. No injury, but pretty close to the it definitely rang my bell. Yeah. And then the third one was the houseborne one I had mentioned previously.
Wow. So you got the trifecta. You got maritime, you got the road, and you got the house. Dang.
I don't know if it's lucky or what, but
wow.
Some would say.
Yeah. Gosh, that is incredible. And then where were you? You had a lot of close calls, like you mentioned earlier, the 9 lives. And I remember a story that either you told me or somebody else may have as well, of entering that room and doing something different. You don't have to get into the tactics exactly.
Yeah.
But doing something different than you would have normally done, and then not being able to explain why you did something different, because 9 out of 10 times, or almost 100% of the time, you would have done this one thing, but you did something different. And that there was a person in that room, I think barricaded maybe with an AK or PKM or something, and lit up exactly where you would have gone had you done what you had been trained to do, or what you would have done on all these other different occasions. What was that?
So that was in Iraq, and that was Super Bowl Sunday, 2008. And I did the different thing, and somehow find myself in this room, and a barricaded shooter who's, less than, a few yards from me, and he's just spraying the wall. Thankfully, I was a moving target, and he didn't shoot me, and I, got him before he could get me. And it was after that, I came out of the room, and my buddy saw me on nods because I was patting myself down, because essentially We were in a small room. I shot a magazine. He shot a magazine. And somehow I didn't get hit. But the wall that I was by had been just riddled with, it was like Pulp Fiction, right? So there was holes all over this wall. Somehow I didn't get hit. And to make matters, worse or better, however you look at it, he was wearing a suicide vest that he had clacked off, and it failed to detonate.
No way. I did not know that part.
In a small room. So I'm like,
dude.
very like, I'm riding high. I'm like, whoa, like, I'm just kind of like, that's crazy. I pat myself down. Someone like jumps on me and pats me down thinking like they had to put a tourniquet on me.
Yeah.
Because there was so much gunfire in this small room. And they're like, there's no way,
right.
Fro didn't get hit. I'm like, I'm fine. Get off me. I'm fine. Wow. So I get up, we find out that this guy, he was the leader, whatever, Al-Qaeda guy. And it was a very bittersweet night for me because like 5 minutes later in a compound or a series of buildings, just, 100 yards away, 4 of my teammates got shot, 2 of them got killed. So, and we spent like most of that night just trying to like fight our way into that compound, retrieve wounded, retrieve 2 dead guys, 2 dead teammates, Mike and Nate. And, I literally shot all my ammo that night, which, and threw 2 grenades. So I like ran out of grenades and bullets. So it was crazy. And literally 3 nights later, I got blown up by the houseborn IED. So had my share, like a week there. That was pretty rough. Yeah.
What did you guys do with the, so you have this person in a corner of a room. Did he have an AK or a PK? What did he end up having on him? The guy that was barricaded?
The guy that was barricaded in my room had an AK.
Yeah, an AK.
And then the other room had sandbagged PK.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of CQB you can do there. Like there's not a lot of tactics that'll survive that. So definitely we're waiting.
What did you do when you have this guy now who is has an S vest on? You blow him in place, or what do you like do with that guy that's in there?
Yeah, they're looking and they're like, well, the EOD looked at the vest and such, and they dealt with the vest and the guy, I don't remember for sure. I know they rendered the vest safe because needed to get like photos and such on the PID to capture kill mission, so make sure we know who was there. But
which I'm clearly curious. Man, those EOD guys, man, incredible.
Golly.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if you just blew that person in place. Like, hey.
Well, no, the whole building got leveled.
Yeah,
the whole building got leveled.
Well, that makes sense now.
Because there was also there was in that building there were a lot of explosives and bomb making materials, and they're like, hey, let's just level this building.
Yeah.
So I think that was done with an aircraft, actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I got it.
Anyway.
Man. That was crazy. So that was life 7, and then the next one was life 8, and then that was was last deployment right there.
That was my last deployment, and I found out, I was working up to go on a deployment in 2009, and basically a couple of months before that, they said I couldn't go. So it was, and right when I found out that I couldn't deploy anymore, I did like one last kind of training thing where I was doing sniper overwatch on a little bird, and one of my shell casings got stuck behind one of the joysticks of the little bird, and it almost crashed. So I'm already told that I have to get out, but I'm going to do some training with the group just as it was going to be my last thing. I was going to do,
bro, better than this. That's like the last ski run of the day. It's like the resort's closing at 4. It's 3:45. Like the lift line's still open. You're like, let's just do one more.
one more.
Yeah.
One more. And then it almost crashed. And then at that point, my boss was like, hang it up, dude.
Yeah.
Like that was for sure the last of them.
Oh, so, how did they get it out of there?
Well, so I'm sitting on the outside, on the pods, which look like picnic tables.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're a couple hundred feet off the ground, and then it starts to kind of waver. And then it starts to go auger in, nose first, into the ground. And I'm sitting on the outside holding on for dear life because you're kind of strapped. You're sitting on a chair with like a lanyard. So I'm holding on like I'm riding a horse in a rodeo because it's going like this, and then it goes down. And I look in, and both of the pilots had let go of all controls, and they're bracing for impact.
That's not good.
And I'm like, this is not good. This is how I, and so I only have a few seconds to decide, like, am I going to try and jump off this, or do I get inside? Like, I don't know what to do. And then at the last second, one of the pilots gives it a last try and just does like a full on deadlift and bends the shell casing, and the bird just kind of brings it, like, pops up, and they land at the ball field or whatever. And they're like, hey, we're grounded for the day and training has ceased. And I'm like, good.
Wow.
So anyway, that was the last.
Crazy. What happened to that casing?
I don't know. I think he kept it.
Yeah.
I think he kept it. I would have liked it, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's insanity.
Yeah. And my parents were, that was in Virginia Beach. My parents were at my house visiting us, and they had no idea I come home, and I'm just like, oof, I need a beer.
Or two or three.
Or a whiskey.
Yeah. Oh man, that is wild. So on all those deployments, when you're there in that heyday period, what else stands out to you? Like those ones right there. Do you think about that often?
Yeah. No, I think about that. I try. We remember the good times, but then I try to remind myself of when I got out and I was missing it. I try to remember, like, okay, so I missed this, but I'm also home for Christmas and Thanksgiving, or I'm not missing my son's birthday again, or whatever. So I try to balance it between, it was good while it lasted, but I have to. It's good to remember it once in a while, but you gotta, try to live life through the windshield, not the rear view. So that stands out, and just the training and the operating with, guys much better than me, and, being amongst those teammates and being there at that time, and just our careers in general, our timing, right? There's so many great guys who served and worked really hard in the 80s and 90s, and, didn't get to, do the job. So, I feel very blessed, for being able to serve while I was.
Yeah. Oh man. And during that time frame also, you get to go and climb El Cap. You do Aconcagua, right? Wasn't there an Aconcagua trip in there that I remember?
Yeah, we did.
And Denali. Man, like that's a solid run. You're doing it with Mark Twite up there, right? Like, aren't you doing some crazy climbs with him?
Stuff.
I mean, the pictures of you on El Cap. Remember the pictures of you on like El Cap? Like that's serious. You're sleeping up there.
Oh yeah.
Like you're doing the full on deal.
The full deal. Like I think, like, I got told I was going to be a lead climber. Okay, cool. I can do pull-ups. That's what I thought. Like, I know how to do pull-ups. I can figure this out. So I get, we go on a teammate of mine, Heath Robinson, who would later die. He was a bulldog, and he's like, we're going to do this trip. We're going to do that trip. And he'd always come up with a great way to sell it and a great way to go do it. And he had decided we're going to climb El Cap. And so I did like a 4-day rock climbing trip to Red Rocks in Las Vegas.
Of course.
And then I do like a 4-day climbing trip elsewhere. So I have like 8 actual days of rock climbing under my belt before day 1 on El Cap.
That is insane.
Insane. And granted, so we had 3 2-man teams that went out.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 teams of 2, and each team was going to have a guide. And as we did 2 days of practicing aid climbing,
Yeah.
and the guide that was going to lead me and my climbing partner quit because he was like, there's no way I'm going up El Cap. These guys are not professional climbers. They're just figuring it out as they go. So we had to condense into 2 3-man teams.
Okay.
So we condensed into 2 3-man teams, and our 3-man team climbed. The route is called the Tangerine Trip. So we took turns. You took turns leading, and then someone follows and cleans up the protection pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And then another person ascends a line and starts hauling up the haul bags. So we had that kind of dialed, and we just took turns leading and cleaning and hauling, leading and cleaning and hauling. And there was I think there was one pitch on that route that was super, super hard that the guide did.
Yeah.
The rest of the pitches were done by us, and it was all aid climbing. And the first night I was 700 feet off the ground on a portal ledge, swinging 4 feet away from the wall because it was more than vertical. So my ledge wasn't even on the wall. I'm swinging off the side.
Did you sleep?
I slept, but because I was so exhausted. You're just so wiped out.
Dude.
So I slept in my sit harness on a portal ledge, but on an anchor that I built, right? So that is that's a whole, everything you do up there is consequential. So if I'm handing if I'm just going to hand a water bottle to someone,
yeah,
I have 2 hands on it. I wait till they have 2 hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I let go, and then he slowly pulls it over because otherwise it's going to fall, 1,000 feet or more. Right.
Yeah.
It's just gnarly. And I have such a great respect for, people that can do that. Cause it is just, to me, that's scary. Very scary.
And how many days did it take to get up there?
So we summited on the 3rd day.
Okay.
So 2
nights.
2 nights on the side, and then the 3rd night at the top.
Nice. That must be pretty cool feeling up there.
That was sleep like none other. Back on, and I could barely walk because for 3 days I hadn't stood other than on a trie, right? Yeah. So it was a trip.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Was that the first one? And did you do Aconcagua next and then Denali? Or what was that?
We did El Cap first,
yeah.
2007. And then we all kind of agreed, we checked the box on the big wall thing. We don't really need to do that too often.
Yeah.
And then we all kind of let's look at the 7 summits or a couple of them. So the next trip was Denali. And we did Denali with Mark Twight, a Denali and climbing legend, obviously.
Yeah. He's right down here in Salt Lake.
Yeah. No, it was quite, I'd worked with him before, in a Jim Jones capacity, when he had come out and taught,
300, baby.
Yep. So we did the fitness thing, and then we did a climbing trip with him. And that was that was epic.
Yeah.
And I much prefer mountaineering over rock climbing per se.
Right.
So that was really cool.
Did you guys get weather up there? I forget. Did you guys get weather up there?
We did. We had, we had split up into 2 groups because we were acclimating at different paces. So I got to go up with the first group, and we summited from 14,000. So from 14,000, we blasted past the high camp, summited, came back down in a 20-hour day.
Wow.
Just slogging. And 2 days later, Mark led the other group up, and
wow.
two of those guys summited. So Mark summited twice in 4 days, which is pretty epic.
Yeah.
Oh man. Us, as you know, we're always training with the best. So we could be shooting with the best, or parachuting with the best, or climbing with the best, and they're far better at that thing than what we do. But we're kind of jacks of all trades, so we're just doing our best to to keep up and learn from people who are better than us. So yeah,
Man.
that was insane. There at the end, we had weather at the end where we had like a blizzard after summiting. We're at 14,000 feet, and we couldn't go back down because it was a white out. So we spent, like, you're stuck in your tent for like 2 days, solid 2 days. And finally there was a break in the weather, but we knew more weather was coming in. It was overcast, blowing a little bit. And we just decided to break camp, and we skied down through a light blizzard I could barely see the guy in front of me on the rope. But the navigator was just following GPS breadcrumbs. Well, it was almost like a dive where you're following your attack board.
Oh yeah.
And I got stuck in the back because my rope team, like, there's like 3 people on my rope team who had like barely ever skied before. So the entire way down, I'm hop turning or snow plowing to help slow a 4-man rope team down, because they're just kind of snow plowing. And I'm sitting there like skiing with a load on my back, just trying to get back. And we pulled up at the base camp, and there was a break in the weather. Everyone else was in tents who was still at the base camp trying to get out. Mm-hmm. But we had just pulled in. So we got on the first plane out of there. And made it back to Talkeetna and then drove to Anchorage.
So awesome. That's a pretty solid run.
It was solid. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty solid run, man. And then after you get medically retired, I mean, what a run you had. Incredible. You get out, you do a little, you go into business with Happy, but I forget if there's the Shaw's Rodney stuff before that.
That was while I was working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
It was like a side gig.
Yeah. Cause we had Rodney come out into my OIC platoon. And so you got to come out, and that was awesome. And with my platoon, and we got to shoot, and had a great time. That was awesome. We got to shoot together again, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Had a little guest instructor action.
Yep.
For sure.
That was awesome. And Rodney did the 226 that I love, that I still have obviously I still have it, but I still shoot to this day. I mean, he did that stipple to grip. He did the sights. He did the dropped in the short action reset trigger in there.
Short reset.
Yeah, exactly. But that was awesome. I love that thing. I think that's a fantastic pistol that he worked on for me. But so that was awesome. Got to do that. And then you and Happy build up Blue Core, which is still going strong, right? In Denver. So if anybody's out there in Denver, stop by Blue Core and check out what they have going on. Still doing classes out there, an awesome range, gun store. That was a great place. I went there a couple times.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, it was good. I did that for 2010 to 2014. Then I kind of stepped down from the day-to-day to go be the CEO at StrongFirst.
Yeah, and you met Pavel during your time at on the East Coast?
Yep.
Okay. When was your first time seeing a kettlebell? Because I think mine was Uzbekistan. I can't be sure. But it might have been Uzbekistan. Yeah. And I was kind of like, what are these things? And that's really like all they had. They had that and like a pull-up bar. And that was it. But they had a bunch of kettlebells. And I think that's the first time that I used them, saw them, realized what they were for. And then they caught on a little later. But you got to start doing the kettlebell stuff while you were on the East Coast?
Yep. So a close friend of mine was training with kettlebells, and guy's name's John Foz. He's also dead. He died in extortion, but he was doing kettlebells, and we were really close friends. And I'm like, what is that? That seems kind of ridiculous. And I just kind of, I don't know. I early internet forums, I was like reading about them. Then I bought a book, I bought a kettlebell, and I just went all in on it. And, I used that as my main training tool, swings and get-ups and cleans and presses. And I just loved it because it was like I could work out at home. It took up no room, took very little time. I could get strength and cardio at the same time. Like, it was just great. And I just got all into it. And later on, I met Pavel when he came to the team, teaching us how to use kettlebells. not long after that, I went and got certified by him as a kettlebell instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of fast forward to 2014, he was looking for a new CEO for his company, and I threw my name into the hat and went through that whole process and went and did that for a few years. And it was, it was awesome. As I mentioned, it was really fun. Went from firearms to fitness, two things I've always, been passionate about, and got to do that for a living for a while. It was really cool.
Yeah, I had the Pavel books, and I got all of them. And then the ones that came out while you were there, you sent me those. And then you had me on, what was that that workout that you had me doing?
Simple and Sinister.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah. That's a great workout. People can just Google it. It'll pop right up, I'm sure. But that's a good one. I forget what it's swings and get ups.
Get
right?
ups.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going back and forth. Like, it's legit. You just use a little stopwatch, whatever, and and get after it. But it's good. No excuses. Like, that's a good one, because it's economy of your time. You can get you get it done, especially if you're doing get ups properly. Yeah, that's cool. That's an awesome one.
Yeah, and I think, like, I started to use that, like, use that programmer doing, like, a lot of swings, a lot of kettlebell swings, and I was doing get ups or clean and presses, and I got real strong without gaining any mass, and it built my engine really well. So I was, obviously I was walking around in the desert at night with body armor, which helped me, like, for the loads on Denali, but it also just walking uphill, doing those swings just really get you in shape for the mountains. And then I still have it, but I had this old, like, steel belted radial Humvee tire that I would just, like, in Virginia Beach, training up for both Denali and Aconcagua, I would just go out and pull a tire for 3 hours.
I remember that. Oh my gosh. I remember you telling me about that. God.
And that really, I call it my horizontal hill simulator.
The horizontal hill simulator.
It feels like you're walking uphill when you're pulling a tire. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. I think you had me on that right as I was getting out, and I was doing that and boxing. So I was going downtown to, City Boxing in San Diego. I was boxing and then doing that workout, which was cool, which was awesome, and great for hunters going to the mountains, grab that kettlebell and get after it. That's still a great program. Who's the CEO now? Do you know who the CEO is? Did Pavel take it back over? Did they get somebody else?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm losing you. There you go. You're back.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. No, did Pavel take back over as CEO, or did they get somebody else, or what is StrongFirst looking like right now?
Yeah, let's see. I went to work for the NRA. So I left that, went to work for the NRA, and he went back to being the CEO when I left.
Got it. But they're still out there and going strong.
Instructor. Yeah.
Nice. Oh man, our internet connection is not the greatest right now, but let's see if we can push. Let's see if we get it back. But so doing that, then NRA, where we got to work together for a little bit, and you did that for a couple years as I'm writing the books and all that stuff, and then you transition out of that. And when did the DEFY come on the scene? Like, when did you become aware of DEFY? How long have they been there, and what's the story behind getting involved with DEFY?
Yeah, so I first met one of the founders of DEFY in 2011 when I did a shooting experience for YPO.
Okay.
In Denver. Bo, who's one of the founders, in the audience, and he was like kind of concerned that it was afterwards. So I ended up, he was like, well, that's kind of messed up. Like, if I ever get the opportunity to hire a veteran, I'm going to hire one. So DEFY, a few years after that, offered me a job. So, he put his money where his mouth was, or his money where his mouth is. So been working there since 2020. At first, kind consulting and then in operations and marketing. Just got my hands dirty on a lot of different things, just learning, one thing you learn in the SEAL teams is how to learn things quickly.
Yeah.
So that's been work ethic, and being able to quickly change and learn something new and like learn on the fly has served me pretty well. So
like climbing El Cap after 8 days with 8 days of climbing experience.
Yep, exactly. It's a theme of my life has been steep learning curves.
Amazing.
So been doing that since, and we have, it was founded by, Bo, Megan, and TD, Terrell Davis, the former Denver Bronco, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, Hall of Famer. He first tried CBD products in 2017. And for the first time in many, many years, he could work out without pain. And then he decided, along with Bo and Megan, they were going to start a CBD company. So DEFY started as a CBD company, and we've done some product extensions since then. We've added an alkaline water, which I've been sipping, and then we have an energy drink as well. So like a lightly caffeinated, very low calorie energy drink, kind of a pre-workout, but it's it's a sports drink. It's not like a carbonated energy drink. So you can reseal it and drink it throughout the day. And it's a very healthy alternative to some of these high caffeinated energy drinks. So we are we've grown pretty quickly. Our first real big purchase order from a buyer was in April of 2021. Mm-hmm. And we've grown from that point to 11,000 stores by July of 2022. So really in a year, just over a year, we've grown into 11,000 stores with more coming. So
no kidding.
That has been, a great experience to just, do a different, be on a new team, a small team, working on learning something new and just growing into that role. And now just managing operations, right? So how we produce product and where it gets warehoused and how we fulfill orders and things like that. In addition to, I help with sales, I help with marketing and product development and all that with our team being so small. I mean, we're still kind of a startup. Everyone wears lots of hats like a SEAL platoon.
Nice, man. Well, so what's the deal with alkaline water? What's the deal behind that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different alkaline waters out there, right? Essentia is being like probably one of the most recognizable brands. But the idea of, between what we eat and things, our pH is going to stay what it is. But if you balance it with some alkaline water, it's easier to maintain that kind of pH level in your body.
Okay. Got it. And so what else do you have out there right now? So you have the alkaline water, you have the protein, you have the energy drink, you have, how many products are there now?
Mostly we have 3 beverages. We have the alkaline water, and of all proceeds go back to different charities, one of which is the Disabled American Veterans. And then we have the Boost, which is our lightly caffeinated energy drink.
Okay.
Earlier, and we have
lost you. There you go. You're back. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what
it's
maybe my
here.
kids are maybe my kids are playing video games now that they're home.
Oh yeah, it could be ours too. It's that time
sucking
of day.
The bandwidth.
That's right.
Sucking the bandwidth away.
That's right. So the third one, so after Boost is
CBD, a
okay.
CBD drink. Yep.
Okay. And that's when you're supposed to take before bed?
Yep. Or after a hard workout.
Okay.
It's called Recover for a reason. So it's really good on inflammation, and we also have like some CBD gummies and some CBD drops that, help you to relax and help you with your, I guess for me, I love medication. So CBD has been very helpful. And that's one thing that TD and I have in common is like, you don't leave the NFL like feeling better than when you got there. Kind of like the SEAL teams,
right? You
kind of get carted off a little bit. So being able to manage pain and inflammation with CBD is, for me, it's been a better solution than all the meds.
Yeah.
So
I am sure. Man, that is wild. And is that the only thing that you're doing these days, or are you still doing something else as well? Or is this full-time DEFY?
It's a full-time job for sure. I do some speaking on the side as a side gig. So I work for a speakers bureau now, and I go do presentations on, teamwork and leadership and overcoming fear or overcoming challenges. So
nice.
I'll do that as it presents itself.
Got it. What speakers bureau is it?
AEI.
AEI?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll send you a link.
Please do.
AEI Speakers Bureau.
Nice.
Yep. So I do that from time to time as well. And it's I really enjoy the opportunity to just share some of the things I've learned, whether it's leadership or teamwork or overcoming a fear or overcoming a challenge. And really, I don't claim to have it figured out, but I know, hey, this worked for me. And I've had these experiences. User experience may vary, but give it a try.
Man, that is awesome. That is awesome. And it's defy.com. Is that where people go?
Yeah. www.drinkdefy.com.
Drinkdefy.com. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I'm going to be needing it soon as I get back on the workout regimen here. Did you have any hunts planned this year?
I've kind of shut the hunting down a little bit just as the kids have gotten older. If I'm going to do something on the weekend, it's going to be with them.
Yeah.
So I'll go hunting with my son. We'll probably do a deer hunt here in Nebraska.
Nice.
We'll go do some pheasant hunting, which he's really good at because he's on the trap shooting team.
That is pretty cool. I love that there are still trap shooting teams, skeet shooting teams, sporting club, whatever teams out there
at school. And it's at school.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Yeah. There used to be one here in Park City till not too long ago. I was talking to somebody about it recently. I don't know if it still exists or not, but not long ago it did. But that is pretty cool. It gives me a little bit of hope.
Yep. No, it's great. It's great to be in middle America and doing that. So very quickly before I forget, I have to run at 4. So I have 3 minutes.
You do it. You do it. And man, thank you so much for taking this time. It's so great to hang with you.
I could talk for hours. Sorry it took so long.
No,
we're both busy.
Dude, I love it. And thank you for doing this. And congratulations on everything you guys have going on. I love keeping up with you guys, seeing the kids growing up on Instagram and all that stuff. I can't believe how old everybody is. But please give my best to the family. And if you guys pass through this winter at any given point, let's make sure and link up. But man, thank you for everything you've given to the nation, obviously, and your friendship over all these years. That means the world to me. And man, reach out if you need anything.
Likewise, bro. I will. I'll send you some samples, and I just echo you and say thanks for the friendship and everything you've done for me, and thanks for your service, and best to the family.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you for everything. And take care, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. All right,
brother.
buddy. Bye. See you. Bye.
November 11th is Veterans Day, but at Navy Federal Credit Union, every day is Veterans Day. I've been a member since 1996, right after boot camp and right before I went to BUDS, or SEAL training. Navy Federal Credit Union is for active duty veteran DOD employees and their families. They offer resources like the VA Loans Hub and Best Cities After Service. They offer veteran employment assistance partnerships with nonprofits like The Mission Continues. They're a top VA home loan lender. They offer personal finance counseling. They offer 24/7 member service and are a growing community of over 1.8 million veterans just like you. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/veterans. Insured by NCUA, an equal housing lender. Thank you so much to SIG Sauer for jumping right on board out of the gate to make this podcast possible. Obviously, I am a huge SIG fan, having carried the P226 on every deployment downrange in the SEAL teams. But SIG was a supporter. They were friends well before I was a New York Times bestselling author, well before I even had an Instagram account or any social media presence whatsoever. So thank you guys all so much. Ron, Tom, Jason, everybody at SIG who gets up every day and continues to crush it and lead the way. SIG is always adapting. They're always at the forefront, whether it is firearms for citizens, whether it's firearms for our military, ammo, suppressors, optics, training, fire control units. They are doing it all, and they are always pushing that envelope and trying to do it better each and every day through innovation and adaptation. They crush. So thank you so much for that friendship and support. It will never be forgotten. If you love America, then Black Rifle Coffee Company has you covered for the holidays. Go to blackriflecoffee.com. Check out all the gear, merch, apparel, and coffee roasting equipment. Once again, blackriflecoffee.com. I am a member of their exclusive coffee club, and I also get this big bag right here of Silencer Smooth delivered every month. You can go click on your favorite roast and set your schedule for delivery, and then bam, there it is on the front doorstep every single month. It is absolutely awesome. Go to blackriflecoffee.com, veteran founded, veteran run. Go check them out. blackriflecoffee.com. Welcome to the gear highlight portion of the Danger Close podcast. First off, thank you, Nick Norris over at Protekt. Awesome shirt. Love what you guys are doing with those clean supplements. And I can't wait to have you on the podcast soon. So protekt.com, check them out. Look at this desk. Man, badassworkbench.com, and that's badass-workbench. They built this thing, drove it all the way out here, and this thing is solid. I absolutely love this thing. So check out the website. They have a lot more offerings on there than just this. So be sure and check them out. Aries watches, Matt Graham, who's on the podcast not too long ago. Can't go wrong with an Aries. Love this thing. And Gatorz. These right here are the Deltas. And the Deltas, man, these things are a newer model and very cool. I've been wearing Gatorz since 1997, 1998. Got my first pair at a Harley dealer in San Diego when I was at SEAL Team 5. And there they are, the Deltas right there. Bam, love them. And Gatorz are with me on every deployment. I wore them in my cameo in episode 3 of the Terminal List, and Chris Pratt wears them throughout the season as well. So check out Gatorz.com. Look at this right here. 3 Rangers single barrel whiskey rye right here. Rangers lead the way. Clay, thank you so much for sending this out. I sincerely appreciate it. And I'm going to read this here from the side. Proceeds from this and every 3 Rangers purchase directly supports the 3 Rangers Foundation, a nonprofit created by veterans for veterans past, present, and future. Read the full story at 3rangers.com. You can also go to 3rangersfoundation.org. Veteran owned and operated. Awesome. Absolutely love it. Cannot wait to crack this bottle. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Streamlight. Look at this thing. This is from the Stinger series. I have quite a few of these. I think I got my first one back in 17 or 18. And usually I don't like flashlights that you have to plug in because I forget and then I go grab it and it doesn't work. But this is so good that one, I remember to plug it in when I need to. It lasts a long time, and I have multiple Stingers around the house, in the cars, and this thing is just a bright light. And they're fairly pricey, but they won't break the bank like some others might, and they are sturdy. And anyway, I'm a fan. So Streamlight right there, their Stinger series, and this one is the LED HL. Bam. Black Rifle Coffee Company. Right there. Of course, I am a big fan. Once again, Chris Pratt wore the shirt in the show. I drink it every morning. You can go to my website and get my Revenge blend on there. And of course, they have more than just coffee. This is a Yeti mug, and they have a whole bunch of other stuff out there as well. Great group of people over there at Black Rifle Coffee Company. These, look at these. Man, Jocko, Pete Roberts, Origin. Check out what they have going on. I think if you put in Origin Maine, I think they both, everything pops up and populates the website. They have so many great things going on over there. And these are the Delta 68s. Why Delta 68s? Well, if you have seen some pictures of SEALs in Vietnam, you may have noticed that a few guys are wearing jeans. So as a tribute, as a hat tip to the Mekong Delta, right here, the Delta 68s from Origin, made in the USA. So awesome. Thank you guys. Really appreciate that. And this right here, this is pretty cool. So this is from a guy, James STEJSKAL, Snake Eater Chronicles, A Question of Time. This right here, Special Forces Berlin, clandestine Cold War operations, 1956 to 1990. And he served for 23 years in the Special Forces, 2 tours in Berlin, retiring as a Chief Warrant Officer 4, and then served 13 years with the CIA as a Senior Operations Officer in Africa, Europe, and Asia. Now a military historian and archaeologist, conflict archaeologist. So very cool. Thank you for sending these along. Sincerely appreciated. Here we go. Brain Treatment Foundation. Go to braintreatmentfoundation.com. Check out what they have going on over there. And I know so many guys who have gone to the Brain Treatment Foundation, and it's helped them immensely. People dealing with TBI, traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, the physical and emotional trauma of the battlefield. So this is one of the hats right there from Brain Treatment Foundation. So thank you guys so much. Check them out and see what they have going on over there. And lastly, Cabot Guns. All right. So if you followed me for a while, you know that I am a fan of these, and I might have a couple others in the safe. But this thing right here is the Apocalypse. So this one right here, I put this in the last novel, and thank you, Cabot Guns. Sincerely appreciate it. They have the Trijicon SRO on here, and that's just a beautiful pistol. Look at that. It still has a little tag on there. Authentic Cabot Guns. So check them out, cabotguns.com. All right. I think that is it for today. Take care out there. Thank you for tuning in to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. To find out more about what Eric Frohardt has going on, you can follow him on the social channels at Eric Frohardt, and that is ERICFROHARDT. Also, be sure to go to drinkdefy.com, the performance beverage company, and check out what they have going on over there. Be sure and also check out the title drop video for my upcoming novel, Only the Dead. That is on my YouTube channel and on my social channels. And if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on the social channels at Jack Carr USA, officialjackcarr.com. That is the website. You can sign up for the newsletter there. You can also click on shop for the merch. And until the next time, take care out there. Be safe, stay strong, keep fighting. My collaboration with KC Cattle Company is out now. Kansas City Cattle Company, veteran owned and operated. There are 2 exclusive Jack Carr bundles. One is for the whole family, and that includes their award-winning Wagyu uncured beef hot dogs. And a second bundle option, which is my favorite, includes something special: a massive Wagyu tomahawk steak and a Cross Tomahawks branding iron. So you'll be able to add the Cross Tomahawks logo to all of your steaks. It's awesome. And you can go to officialjackcarr.com, click on shop to check that out. But hurry, because they are going fast.